Hi everyone, this is Daisy here, aka Professional High Priestess, and I wanted to drop a channeling today regarding rage, resentment, betrayal, and abandonment on whatever journey that you're on, whether it be with, in your soul partnership, whether it be dealing with families, friends, etc. I feel like these are going to be useful tips for a lot of us that could potentially be going through a lot of this right now. So, first and foremost, especially as women, but I'm speaking to everyone, man and woman, etc. But specifically for those who are in a female body and phenotypically present themselves as women. A lot of the times when we display some type of like anger or rage, especially women of color, we're considered angry or you're aggressive or you're this or you're that. So a lot of the times we just like put that to the side, right? Or we suppress it or we try to, diminish it, or we try to mask it with either being overly nice or being distant from people or being silent, etc., right? And eventually what ends up happening, it creates like a bottleneck, so that when we do go through some of those tower moments or some of those situations that kind of like trigger us, it all comes exploding like a volcano. Or for some of us, we hold it in and then it starts to manifest as chronic illness, right? It manifests as chronic illness. It manifests as people outside of us that are reflecting back to us that healing that we need to do around rage and anger and expressing it properly. And I feel like, a lot of us are dealing with this on the journey because of like the karmic and their drama, and the person that you're dealing with and their hard-headedness, their betrayal, their mental problems, etc. It can build up a lot of rage. So I want to say, if you're experiencing that, first thing, breathe. I know it's easier said than done. I have a Leo stellium, so that's like hella fire, right? But the first thing I want to say is breathe. The second thing, it's probably, you want to also start to look into specific type of mechanisms like Epsom salt baths to help your nervous system, even taking magnesium supplements, taking DHA supplements, things for your nervous system so that it can actually like regulate that process, because all emotions are regulated by both the amygdala and limbic system, and then also by the liver in Chinese medicine. Also, so if you're also ingesting a lot of toxins or drinking a lot or smoking a lot, it's also going to impact your liver's ability to handle that rage and that anger and those emotions and transform them and transmute them. Okay, I would also say maybe writing, talking to people, watching other videos, even just putting the comments out there, getting it up and out of your body really helps, right? Screaming, singing. I know something that really helps me with rage is trap music. Yes, because when I can channel it through that trap music, it really helps me, and I'm like, okay, these are the solutions, right, to get my thugging on. So that's what I have for rage. There's so much more. Of course, there's so much more, but we're going to be talking about resentment, betrayal, abandonment as well too, right? So when it comes to resentment, resentment is literally like, stagnant feelings of ill will, hatred, or towards an individual that did you wrong. Now, the thing about resentment is resentment doesn't go away overnight, and it's not built overnight. In order for you to resent somebody, there's some type of transgression, there's a lack of closure, there's a lack of justice that's creating that resentment. And even sometimes, even when those acts are facilitated, it's hard to not be resentful depending on how like severe the transgression was, right? Like, let's say for instance, like, I have resentment from this that happened 5 years ago. They may have apologized, after 2 years, but I'm still having resentment. That type of thing. It's like, because they took so much time, the resentment built up and it kind of calcified. Resentment also too impacts your solar plexus chakra, and it also impacts your gut, and it can harden your small and large intestines, which can create like constipation. A lot of the people who literally are full of shit, like with their behavior, etc., it's because they have a lot of resentment, rage, toxicity that's backed up literally in their colon, right? So then it metaphorically manifest within their behavior as them literally like bullshitting and acting like ancient people. So there's that. But when it comes to resentment, it's hard. Like, I feel like the first thing about resentment is just admitting that it's there. Like, ain't nothing wrong with resenting someone for doing you wrong. But I feel like the thing with resentment is because you know that it's going to impact your health and it's a stagnant energy, doing what you can every day to try to like address it little by little. You don't you don't have to do it all in one day, but little by little addressing the resentment, okay, breathing through it, doing specific meditations and whatnot, to move through it. Like, they always have like this forgive and forget. Me personally, like certain people, my forgiveness is very valuable, right? Because sometimes your forgiveness is also offsetting that person's karma. But I'll say this, I'm not gonna hold resentment towards an individual for the ill will that they did towards me, but I'm not going to sit up and act like, oh, everything's okay. Like I'm going to understand that it had nothing to do with me. It's where they were at on their journey at the time. And that's them and their demons that they're dealing with that they projected onto me. But what I will do is forget them and they cannot come back and enter my space, period. Okay? There's that. A lot of us are holding a lot of resentment because, and then through this resentment process, I feel like something that's really good to think about is like the person that you have resentment towards. Why do you have resentment? What did they impact or stall for you or stop for you or harm for you that's creating that resentment? Like for some of us, like let's say for instance, you resent the karmic. Why do you resent the karmic? Because I perceive that the karmic blocked me from union or caused havoc in my life that stopped me from doing A, B, C, and D. Okay, so the karmic did that. Now think about, how do you think the karmic feels, or what do you think is going to happen to them for creating that, right? That can help you take out the resentment. And then also too, what is the solution then for whatever they stop, they harm, they cause, right? Sometimes there may be no solution. Sometimes that's the healing journey that you have to go on, is continuing to, move past that on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to betrayal, that's bigger, right? So when we're talking about betrayal, it's literally, it's layered, because a lot of the time the betrayal is wrapped up, of course, with the resentment, okay? And when we're dealing with specific individuals that you share your house with, or your resources with, or your innermost secrets with, or your body with, and then they facilitate specific transgressions, it feels like major violations, especially spiritually. Now, when these people betray you, you have to realize, like, it's hard to understand this, but it's like, that was them. It's nothing to do with you. That's them and their lack of integrity and their lack of ethics. And at the same time, too, potentially this betrayal was teaching you a lesson about where you need to have more boundaries, where you need to stop being so giving, and where you need to stop being so kind. You also have to understand, when people betray you, because it's like a form of dehumanization, they're really just dehumanizing themselves, and they're really showing you who they are not, and the lack of growth, the lack of integrity, and the lack of dignity that they have. In order for them to do that to you, they have to think so low about themselves first. You have to understand that about people that betray you. So like in my situation, like I had someone who, my false karmic DM, false twin, I let them know that there was magic being done on them, etc., etc. Instead of them to go get the magic cleared, they actually turned around, went with the karmic to go do magic on me. I could have had a lot of resentment towards that person. I could have felt betrayed, but ultimately would have let me know that this individual was not for me, and that they're a karmic, and that they're going to be getting karma, right? And it also let me know, okay, there's something else deeper going on here that was relating to jealousy, mental illness, spiritual depravity, toxic masculinity, misogyny, all of that had nothing to do with me. And once I saw it from that perspective, it was easy for me to take my emotions out of it and take my pain and hurt out of it, because that's them and their illness. Yes, they projected it onto me. I got caught in the crossfire of that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're going to be dealing with it 10 times worse, of course, right? So those are some of the messages I have. And you remember, sometimes the energy is so powerful and it gets so stuck in us because it could be a vibrational match to other pains and betrayals and resentments and hurts that we've experienced throughout our life. So that's where, it's important to do DNA clearing of your energetic field, of debris, of stagnation, of rips, holes, and tears and blockages, so that you're not, continuing to recycle that experience with different people, places, and things, right? So I'm going to just pull some oracle cards for us, for those of us who are dealing with some of this energy. All right. Dear bright and well-living ancestors, what messages do you have for us dealing with anger, resentment, rage, betrayal, and resentment? What messages of advice do you have for those of us dealing with anger, rage, betrayal, and resentment on our journey? We have Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. Let's see here. What messages do you have for those of us dealing with anger, rage, betrayal, and resentment on our journey? It says warrior woman, right? And then it also says soul family, calling your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. What was I saying at the very beginning? Calling friends or family, finding support groups online or in person that you can go to and talk about what's going on with you. It helps, because when you realize, okay, I'm not the only one, it really helps. It takes a whole load off your shoulder. right? Because sometimes when we feel like we're in it alone, or it's only us that it's happening to, it can create even more of the feelings that we don't want. Then we have Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. I feel like what this is saying here, for those of us that are going through this, is like, this is helping us get to the place where we realize, okay, I don't ever want to be involved with a person like that created these type of feelings. I want different for myself, for my children, for my family, for my friends group, my soul tribe. So let me identify, what type of emotions and feelings and traumas unresolved create these type of behaviors in people, so I can move away from that, because we can't take that to new earth. Another thing I'm seeing here is that some of y'all may need to go through some of these certain situations as like a rite of passage, right? To get you to the next level of where you need to be. Then we have Warrior Woman, and it says here, have you answered your deepest calling? Now, with this Warrior Woman being here, I feel like this is, with this Sword of Truth, Ace of Swords, I feel like this is saying, like, you have the power and the tools to cut through all the bullshit being sent your way. That this is not like your final destination, that you're a warrior, like really boss up, recognize that you've dealt with worse, and eat that karma, eat that resentment for breakfast, eat that betrayal for breakfast, right? Okay, let's clarify. Let's get some energy oracles. Dear bright and loving ancestors, what messages do you have for those of us dealing with resentment, rage, and betrayal on our journeys? Messages of advice for those of us dealing with anger, rage, resentment, and betrayal. Rest and rejuvenation, Four of Swords energy, okay? What messages do you have for those of us? Yeah, like I said, like, because some of it is, it's energetic, it's supernatural, right? And you need those supernatural tools, that sound healing, those candles, that magic, those rituals and things like that to help you clear that energy. Then it says angel of balance here, justice and karma for these individuals, right, that did this to you. Messages for those of us dealing with anger, resentment, betrayal, all tied up. I feel like some of us feel bound to this type of energy, bound to that feeling, bound to, the resentment and the negative energies. Because also sometimes too, it's like, if I'm a victim, it's like the victim, I'm not saying that, those of us are playing victim, right? Because a lot of us have experienced harm, but I feel like some folks, they like being in that victim story. They like having a story to tell. They enjoy that because it gives them a story. Because for some people, their whole identity is built around the anger, the rage, and the resentment, and the betrayal that they've went through. So I feel like with this all tied up here, it's like, cut yourself away from the toxic ties that you have. Cord cutting, energy clearing. That's exactly what I'm hearing right here. Okay. Let's clarify. Dear bright and loving ancestors, clarify soul family. Clarify soul family. With the Ace of Pentacles here. And I feel like with this Ace of Pentacles, what this is saying is, this can be some of like your North Node. Maybe you guys have a North Node in Capricorn, Taurus, or Virgo. But what I really feel here is like you're going to be having a new beginning with solid individuals, right? Who are going to be able to help you go through this situation. That's exactly what I feel here. Clarify soul family. With the Tower, yeah. And I feel like with this Tower here, basically what this is saying is, you could have gone through a tower moment, and going through that tower, you're going to need hands to help you rebuild, right? So calling in your soul tribe. If you feel like you don't have one, like find friends online. There's someone out there for everybody. Okay. Clarify Warrior Woman, please, for those of us dealing with anger, resentment, rage, and betrayal. Clarify Warrior Woman with the Temperance card being here, because you have angels and angelic guidance watching you. You have ancestors, wayshowers, guides, and spirits, from the animal kingdom, mineral kingdom, etc., watching, supporting you, protecting you. Clarify Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. With the Empress here, and you guys know, and the Star card and the Justice card. I love that. I love how it all just came out right here, because the Empress has to kind of go through pain to get to her Empress status, right? That's why she's an Empress, not a page or a queen, right? But at the same time, too, just recognizing that it's in your birthright to have justice for the injustices that have been created against you, and that you will have justice, right, for the harm that's going to be caused, because you're going to be healing with the Star card here, right? You're going to be healing with the Star card here. You're going to be getting your justice. You're going to be creating heaven on earth from this experience. After the Tower comes the Star, right? So, for those of us, there's a lot of majors out here. I feel like I needed to put this channeling out there because a lot of us are currently dealing with this right now. I feel like good things are happening, and it's going to be happening very quickly, right? You'll be healing from this fairly quickly once you start to realize, oh, okay, that's the person that I love, but, they're also ran by entities and spirits and past life karma and trauma and mental health problems that they brought into this life, and they decided to facilitate onto me. And I feel like, don't blame yourself for someone like doing that to you. It's not your fault. But also have boundaries so that you don't give them a space to do what they did before. Again, clarify rest and rejuvenation with the Wheel of Fortune, because cycles are changing. Destiny is changing. Good luck is coming. Fortune and expansion is coming. Rest and rejuvenation, right? To turn that wheel, because when you stay stuck in that stagnant energy too, you're manifesting a low vibrational timeline and outcome for yourself. Raise that vibration, recognize what these people are for who they are, right? Move past that, cut the cords, get them out of your energy field, cut those cords between you and them, right? And keep it pushing with the Wheel of Fortune here. What's the Angel of Balance, please, for those of us dealing with anger and resentment, with the Three of Pentacles here? Clarify the Angel of Balance and the Three of Pentacles. Angel of Balance. Yeah, Five of Pentacles. Because with this Three of Pentacles here, I feel like what this is saying is like you are going to be having help coming out of the cold. With the Angel of Balance, that's justice, but that's also like help. Because if things have been out of balance, Five of Pentacles, feeling left out in the cold, feeling like you have lack, the Angel of Balance is saying it's going to be okay because help is on the way with the Three of Pentacles here. That's also right here with the Soul Family as well. Five of Pentacles and Three of Pentacles is Eight of Pentacles, right? Putting in the work, hard work, dedication, okay? So for some of us, that's what's going to be happening as well. Clarify all tied up with the Seven of Swords here and the Judgment card. So basically what this is telling me is that the individuals who have facilitated these harms against you, not only are they going to be getting exposed with the Seven of Swords here, right, for their pathology, for their wicked thinking, for the trifling ideas and the conniving and trifling plans and plots that they have, they're also going to be facing severe judgment as well for what they caused, the rage, the anger, and the resentment, right? So I would say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. That's exactly what I'm seeing here. And that's exactly what I'm getting from this spread. And, I'm not saying like just forget, but, sometimes depending on the elements you have, like if you have a lot of air in your chart, it's easier, right? Especially Libra, because we're all about harmony, balance, that type of thing. If you have a lot of fire in your chart, it's also easier to like forgive and move past resentment. But sometimes it's harder to get past rage, right? Because rage is the fire element, right? So depending on your element, that's also going to dictate how you're going to be able to move through some of these emotions and what you should do to move through some of these emotions. Like water signs, we're a receptacle, we hold. So sometimes it can be harder for us to let go of like resentment and the bitterness and the grudges that we have against other people, especially Scorpios. That's why I say that supernatural healing comes in, right? The sound meditations, the crystal healings, the therapies to help move that energy through the body, right? Through the muscular system, through the skin system, through the blood, out of the organs, because that's where it gets stuck. And that's how the illnesses start to develop, right? So please, let's get an Isis Oracle Wisdom, please. Isis Oracle Wisdom, please, for those of us dealing with anger, rage, resentment, and betrayal on our journey. All right, here we have Key of Life. It says the Ankh portends new life being born through you now. This new life being born in whatever form will enrich your life, bringing you more into wholeness and fulfillment. Do not give up on your creative destiny. Stay with it. You are flowing in the right direction and you have spiritual support from the unseen worlds. Let it happen. What was I saying with that Temperance card? You have support from the unseen worlds, right? You're going in the right direction. It's saying don't give up. These feelings and this energy will pass. But the thing also too is like if you've slept with that person who may have caused this anger, hate, hurt, or resentment, or let's say this person is like a family member that you have like energetic ties to, cords to, of course it's going to be harder to let those feelings, because remember now you have a supernatural tie, so you need supernatural healing and supernatural tools to get rid of that supernatural energy, right? So that's what I have for y'all. Banishing spells will help. I've noticed that really helps. Like banishing spells will help get that person out of your energy field, and it'll help you move the process through quicker. Anyways, y'all, that's what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed. If you need a personal reading, go ahead and check the description box below. Once again, my name is Daisy, aka Professional High Priestess. Bye.